How your role has changed now with Gregg being the head coach?
Um, Obviously, some different responsibilities at times, but the role being very similar. I mean, so first and foremost, linebacker coach. I mean, that's what it is. And Gregg is still the defensive coordinator, running the defensive meetings. You know, when he gets done running the team meetings, we break down into offense and defense. He goes in there, you know, does our defensive meeting. Everybody, when we're reviewing film, it's an entire defense, you know, game film or whatever, in there leading that, all of those things. But just no different than when he was, you know, the defensive coordinator. Just the length of time that we've been together, just, you know, confidants, talking through things situationally, all of those things. Situationally in the game plan, hey, remember, you know, even on the sideline, remember, hey, this is what our plan is on 3rd and 1. This is what our plan is here. This is what our plan is there. So now, from a head coaching role, just some of those same things, but on the head coaching role, hey, you know, remember, you know, and it's Freddie and it's Amos and it's me and it's him talking, hey, remember, this is what our plan is, you know, in 2 minutes, or this is what our plan is, you know, being up 2 scores in the second half. This is what our plan is, you know, on 4th down, or this is what our plan is with the, you know, timeout usage in this situation. So it's the same thing. It's, okay, hey, just assisting, you know, and just another ear, you know, and just reinforcing, you know, those responsibilities. And then probably the biggest one, being taken over the play calling the last couple of games since Shobes has been back. Just from an efficiency standpoint, that's always been a symbiotic relationship with him and I. A lot of places are like that, maybe more so on offenses than defenses, but that's always been that way. Hey, it's 3rd down, you know, he'll just turn, you know, hey, what do you want right here? And it's got to be, you know, you pause for a second. He's like, that's too long, you know, but hey, what do you want right here? What do you like right here? What are they going to do right here? And so even on game day before, it was that way, just the shift now to, with everything he's got to do from a head coaching standpoint, me taking the mic into the Schobert's helmet, just to help with that efficiency. If he's got to be talking with, you know, Amos about something on this 3rd down, but what we're going to do on 4th down, you know, when we stop him, you know, or whatever on 3rd down, he's able to be having that conversation, you know, while the 3rd down play call's being called, by the staff and by, you know, me and the Schobert's helmet. So I guess that would be one of those things. But again, that's something, you know, I've done before as well too. I mean, the whole 2012 season, you know, when he was out, you know, I had to step in and do that for him as well too. And so that's just part of the process. But I'd say otherwise, I mean, it's the same day-to-day operation, you know, that it has been, you know, with the exception of just a different person in the team meeting room leading those team meetings. But from a defensive standpoint, it's the same operation that's been day in, day out from that standpoint.
Does he still make the call? You just call it in?
No, I make the call. He's got override, you know, hey, veto power, or he's got, hey, what do you think about this right there? Again, when you've been doing it together, as long as we've been doing, and then you go through all the practice and the game plan all week long. I mean, we know what we're going to do ahead of time, you know, so we practice this. We know what the game plan is for this situation. You know, a lot of times, you know, again, Schobert can probably call the play before we call the play because he knows what we've practiced, you know, in this situation, this is what we're going to do. But so that would be the shift, you know, from that standpoint since Schobert coming back over the last couple of games.
So was it with the Kansas City game that this started for you calling the plays?
No, just the shift. I mean, obviously with everything going on that week, you know, the best thing, you know, was just as much normalcy as possible. But then again, like I said, with Schobert coming back, and that's just something, you know, he discussed. It's something that he wanted to do, and especially that, again, like I said, that relationship there with Schobert as well too. On just you're coaching him as the lead position coach all week long, so sometimes you can add a couple narratives to that. You know, hey, here's the play call, but hey, remember, alert this. This is what we're expecting them to do right here. Or hey, alert if they do this. You know, check to this. You know, type of situation.
The last 2 games, have you told Gregg like, hey, the Browns have won 2 in a row for the first time in 4 years?
No, not by any means. And again, like I can't stress enough. You know, I was a part of, this is how it was. I've been a part of this, you know, before as well too. I mean, being in New Orleans and coaching on offense in New Orleans and watching that whole thing, you know, in the how it is between Pete Carmichael and Joe Lombardi and Sean Payton and Drew Brees on game day, and it's a collective thing. I mean, our staff works extremely hard to put this game plan together. By the time we get done with today, I mean, it's done. This is what it is. I mean, you know what they're going to do, you know what you're going to do in that, and then you discuss things as a staff in between series. Hey, this is what they're doing. Hey, we should maybe try to change this a little bit. You talk with a bunch of the D-line coaches. You talk amongst the DB coaches. We talk, hey, this is what we're thinking, to Gregg. And he's like, good, run with it and whatnot. But obviously he's still there listening to everything that's going on and making suggestions and whatnot, and when he, calls something, hey, this is what we're going to do right here. Boom. I just push the button and say it to Schobert.
Still, that means it's pretty exciting to be back in that role in the NFL.
It is, I guess, a little bit from that standpoint. Yeah, I mean, there's a difference. I will admit there's a difference between random times, 30% of the game getting, hey, what do you want? Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you like? And then getting in a flow of just, the rhythm of being able to do it. So that's, a small difference from that standpoint, and that's nice. But again, can't say enough about the kind of the system that we have here right now with the coaches first and then the players, and then obviously 53 is special. Joe Schobert special from that standpoint, and so what he's able to do, that's a whole nother side of things. Is what Gregg could call it, I could call it, Coach D-Walk could call it in there, and then Schob's just going to completely change the play out there on the field anyways. So we maybe called this, and it's not even remotely. It's a whole nother coverage. It's a whole nother play. He may have just checked to a blitz. He may have checked out of a blitz, And so at the end of the day, he's the final overrider anyways. And so you can't always, within our game plan and how much we give him, you can't always force the issue as a coach anyways, because you've given him the options to take over on what he's seeing out there and go to the best of options, or best of multiple options, as well too. So the game kind of takes its own life from that standpoint based on what the offense is doing in a lot of those scenarios with Schobert.
So is your dad treating you any different now?
No, if you guys know that no, not any different. We wouldn't expect it to be different, any different. Again, like I said, I can't stress enough. I mean, it is the same process every single day. Game planning, I mean, he's putting the game plan together. He's leading the game plan. All the defensive meetings, when we're in there reviewing the film as a defensive staff, when we're, reviewing. There's a difference between, and this isn't the first time, and again, like I said, in the history of the NFL, there's a difference between being a defensive coordinator, having the defensive coordinator title, and then calling plays. There's other places, I may be completely wrong on this. But going back to that game last night, I'm pretty sure Chris Richard's calling the plays with Marinelli as the defensive coordinator and Chris Richard as the pass game coordinator and essentially the DB coach. But I'm pretty sure he's calling them on game day. They've given him that role this year, and so there's a difference between the responsibilities of a coordinator and then the calling of a play. Those are two very different things, and so from that standpoint, nothing has changed.
When you guys review the game, would your calls line up almost 100%? Or your calls different than Gregg?
No, very, very much so. Again, like I said, maybe there's an extra something tagged to it every once in a while because of that relationship between Schobes and I, just from the day in, day out coaching one-on-one, just, from a position coach to a position player type of thing. Maybe you've talked about something just even one-on-one all week long, and it's just a reminder. Maybe you've seen him forget about it twice this week. And by game day, that dude's never going to forget about it, but you just add that, and it just takes one more thing off of his play. Oh yeah, and so stuff like that. But no, it's gonna match up, right on, at the end of the day, we know what we're gonna do. We've got these 5 calls for this section of the game plan, and we're gonna call 3 or 4 of them, if not all 5 of them, and keep mixing it up. And so you may have called it differently in a different situation, but at the end of the day, it all gets called, and we go through that as a staff anyways. We sit there and play the game as a staff every day, go through, hey, okay, here's the call we're making right here, and all the what ifs. Okay, hey, yeah, we got to get this. We as a staff got to get, give them this opportunity to have to go through this what if in practice. what if in practice. Sometimes those what ifs come about as a staff, sitting there playing the game before it's played, and we're like, ooh. The DB coaches are like, oh, hey, we need to go give the D-line coaches like, hey, we need to go give the D-line guys this situation that they have to handle in practice this week, and that's how you win games. If you're going to be a consistent winner in the NFL, you win games Monday or really Tuesday, but you win games Tuesday through Saturday because of your preparation, because of all those type of things. There's not surprises when you all of a sudden get to it. You've maybe never gone through that exact detailed scenario before, but you've gone through that problem solving and communication, together, and you make it work. And that's the fun thing about this group as a defensive staff and these defensive players is they do that very well together.
When did you notice that Schobert did have that kind of special mind where the gears turn a little faster than most?
You knew about him coming out. You do your research on him. You knew, how smart he was, those type of things. I will say I played at Princeton, so you go through this sometimes before. There's a difference between book smarts, Wonderlic smarts, and then football IQ and football instincts. And sometimes the guys that are just blow the top off of the Wonderlic, you have a worry about, as a coach, because you've been through it with guys like that before where, they parse out every little thing. They don't have that football instincts. They're like, well, what if, or what about? And you're like, whoa, what are you even talking about right now? Like that can't even happen. Like that's a what if that you just came up with that can't happen because this. You're like, oh, okay. And so sometimes they slow themselves down. They're too book smart, but they don't have that athletic intelligence. And so that was the fun thing about, getting a chance to coach, Schobert and getting to know him and touch and feel him is you see he's got a rare ability to have this high book smarts, but then, manage that with his athletic intelligence. You don't want to be out there. You need to do your thinking, your problem solving. This is what I'm going to do in this situation. This is how we're going to do this situation. This is how I'm going to handle this situation on the fly. You do that in the meeting room. You do that, at home. You do that in your study. But when you go out there in the field, you can't be slowing down and thinking, like that. Again, we call it paralysis by analysis, type of thing. And it takes only some rare quarterbacks, and some rare, Mike linebackers that have been around that has had the ability to do those two things, and so it was probably preseason of last year, and then probably by about week 5 on last year, where you really started to see that kick in. He's a guy that every single thing that happens, he hears. Something happens with the defensive backs, and it happens 20 yards away. And he will just naturally start to walk over there a little bit and listen to what the DB coaches are telling the DBs. And he'll be learning, and he's learning about their responsibility, And then that situation may come up in a game. All of a sudden, he'll turn and look to the guy and, hey, and tell him what that whole exact thing, and he'll remind him, hey, remember, this is what you're supposed to do right here. But it may have come from that. He is literally spending every ounce of his day around this building doing everything he can to just learn. He's a football junkie, and he's got a unique ability to kind of take that, go home or go to a meeting and decompress, think about it, and reorganize all that information into something that's usable. Obviously, Drew Brees, is probably the best I've ever been around that was able to do that, where he takes all of this coaching, all of this playbook, all of this thing, and then he makes it something way greater than it was even intended to be by the way he's able to functionally handle that, and Schobes definitely has those qualities, in him, which allows him to, and that's the thing that I think you see about him is, I think the mark of a great player is if you can raise the level of play of everybody around you, and then by doing more, and then it's still at the same time you yourself can play at a high level. And I think those are the things that we're seeing in his young career, and we just got to he's got to keep progressing. We got to keep progressing him through that.
With how dynamic Deshaun Watson is in different ways, what kind of challenge is that to prepare for?
The hard thing about it is the off-schedule nature that he can both with. I think they do a good job of at times building his off-schedule ability into the design of the play. Like we see this with Aaron Rodgers as well too. And then at times he's just doing it as well too. And so, and some people do that, and you know what? They do all these great things, but then they also turn the ball over as well too. The special ones and the ones that are truly hard that keep you up at night are the ones that are able to do it repetitively, and it's way better on average for the offense when they're doing it than the defense, meaning they're making these touchdowns, they're making these explosive gains and stuff like that without taking, you know, the negative plays and more importantly without turning the ball over. And so that's the hard thing, because the NFL especially is very much to a degree a cookie cutter league. There's a lot of similarities, you know, across the league, but second of all, it's different from college football. It's more known by the timing of the offense, I mean, these things happen extremely fast in the passing game, and quarterbacks throwing it to windows before the receiver is even there. You know, the great quarterbacks that know, hey, this is what coverage they're in, this is where the window's going to be, and I'm throwing it, trusting the receiver is going to get there by the time the ball gets there, those things. But then all of a sudden you play a guy like Deshaun, and maybe all your muscle memory is built on that. You know, all these NFL pocket passers, you know, that you're playing, all your coverage principles are built on that, and then all of a sudden you play a dude where that's not the case. You know, one play you're playing and the snap to throw is 1.5 seconds, and the next play the snap to throw is 2.5 seconds, and then the next play the snap to throw is 10.5 seconds. You know, and you sit there and you design, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this blitz, we're going to get to him, we're going to beat the protection, there's going to be a free runner, and then the free runner is going to whiff because he dodges them, and now all of a sudden you're holding your breath. Or, you know, Myles Garrett gets there, beats his guy. You work all week long, you know, on talking about that matchup and how we're going to do and what that guy has a hard time doing. And then you realize with a guy like Deshaun Watson, we talk about this, is beating that guy is not even half the battle. Because once you beat that guy, you got to get that guy down, and he makes guys miss. And then when he makes guys miss and extends plays, he makes things happen. And so obviously that's, you know, the part of it. And you try to plan for it. And you know, Tyrod's done a great job at being that guy this week for us in practice, and he's made some, you know, big time plays. You know, Tyrod has this week, but you know, scrambling around both with his feet and his arms. That's given us that feel, because that's all you can really do, because you can't plan for when it's going to happen. You don't know before the play, that he doesn't even know himself that he's getting ready to do it, and you've got to be able to compete and hold up when it does happen.